What's up, my brothers and my sisters from another mister? Today we're going to do a comic book review of Haunt, issue number 5, where we unveil the shocking finale to this story arc with Haunt, brought to you by Rated Comics. Let's get to it. We begin this issue with Mr. Herg talking over the bed of Cobra, where he just successfully had surgery, but he tells him that they found the notebook that the seller contacted him about. And he was like, well, all this time that you were haunting Daniel Kilgore, shaking at least the people that were close to Kilgore, it was a dead end. And he can assume some partial responsibility for that. So it'll make it easier for him not to punish Cobra for his failures. But the thing that makes him uneasy is the seller knows everything about him. Well, not everything, but at least she knows who he is. And it doesn't feel safe to him because he went through a lot of trouble for people not to know who he is, and only people very close to him know who he is. So it brings him a lot of discomfort. But as much as he hates it, this notebook is essential for his plans, and he has to have it no matter the cost. So in this panel right here, Daniel and Kurt woke up to Director Stantz, and he greets him, and he's glad to hear that everything is okay. And even though in the last issue where Daniel and Haunt merged together, it takes a lot out of Daniel, and Kurt realizes it. So Director Stantz tells him that they got an anonymous tip regarding Schiller's notebook. There's a sale taking place later today. It's being sold to an unknown party. So he believes the unknown party was responsible for your brother's death, for Kurt's death, and all the trouble surrounding you lately. So we're sending a team to stop the sale and take all the parties into custody. And Director Rhodes, the mole being up in there, she tells Beth, I gotta make some calls and make sure my end is okay. So Beth tells her, go ahead, do your thing. I'll let you know if you miss anything. So Kurt tells Daniel, you have to tell him we're gonna have to see this through. There's no way about it. Just do it. And Daniel's like, man, I am too tired of this stuff. I don't want to do no more. Kurt's like, ain't no way, bro. You gotta do this, and we're gonna do it. So Daniel tells Director Stantz, I don't know how to tell you this, but Kurt says we gotta see it through. And so Director Stantz tells him, look, I told you about this because I wanted you to know that this matter is gonna come to a close. I don't want you to get all bothered up and all riled up in it. And plus, remember what happened last time? So Kurt gets pissed, like, tell him that was me pushing you too hard. That's why all the iron deficiencies and you got phased out like that. I was driven stopping to save Amanda at all costs. And tell him I'm gonna take it easy on you. If I relax like we did before, you won't get hurt. So Daniel's like, look, I don't know how to tell you this, but Kurt's saying a bunch of stuff. So basically he's gonna say we're seeing it through and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, even though they can, but it's like, okay, they know that Daniel's communicating with Kurt, the CIA agent, with all this. So Director Stantz is like at a hard press to let it go through. So Mike and Scott come in with their like the data intel guys, and they tell them that their voice analysis came in and it's confirmed that the person who called in on the tip of the cell going down is Mirage. And Kurt's like, oh my god, she's going through with it. And Danny's like, what do you mean? Turns out Kurt might know a little bit of something about Mirage. So they go to the meet down, and Daniel's like, okay, I heard what you said before, she's going through with it. What did you mean by that? Kind of like that meme.
What do you mean by that?
But anyways, so he spots her, Mirage, about to make the deal go down. Even though she gets catcalled and hit on, it's not the point of it. But Kurt tells Daniel that she's a former agent. She quit to go into business for herself. They've been working together before. She's a good person. All Kurt's doing is he's just worried about her. So Mr. Herg comes in with his accomplice, and he's like, thanks for bringing this to me. I will always have work for you anytime, just say the word. And Mirage is like, just give me the money so I can be on my way, Herg. The less time I have to spend in your presence, the better. And he gets sussed out. He notices something's not right. Well, look, out of respect, this is why it is. Let's just be civil about this. Before he can continue on with the conversation, she tells him, stop right there. Money now or I walk. Daniel and Kurt, especially Kurt, they have no idea who this man is. So Herg tells her, I know you didn't keep this meeting a secret, and that's very unwise of you, but I need that case, and I hope you're prepared for what's about to happen next after we do this exchange. So after they do the exchange, all the agents come out, guns out, nobody move, freeze, and the first fire is shot. Herg takes cover, takes the ladies with them, and Mirage tells him good luck surviving this as she runs out 007 style. Haunt comes in, all shit has gone loose. Herg makes his way to the corridor ahead where the truck is parked, and he doesn't care. And even the girls remind him, we told you that was a bad idea, but Herg is like, look, I needed that notebook and it's too late for all this now. So Daniel tells Kurt, we're letting the bad guy get away, and Kurt's like, he's not getting away. His first concern is making sure Mirage is safe. So he does his haunt thing, and Daniel questions him, why are you trying to save her? We should be going after the bad guy. So in the midst of all this pandemonium, Kurt tells Daniel while he's doing all this, tell her to run. She's scared, she doesn't know who we are, but tell her to run. So Daniel obliges to Kurt, get out of here, go. And she goes, she runs. And Daniel tells Kurt, I hope she was worth it, man, because you let the bad guy get away with that notebook. And Kurt's like, trust me, man, our guys have it all under control. It's all good. So now Daniel's getting tired, and because Kurt is riling him up, maybe it's tiring Daniel out with all this pandemonium right here, Herg runs with these two girls, and Haunt finally catches up to him, slips him up, trips him up. After Haunt trips him up, Daniel tells him, game over, ugly. You're going to tell us who you are and what you're doing with that suitcase. One of the girls takes the gun and blasts Haunt in the ribcage. His ectoplasm suit defends it, slaps the gun, and he deflects it to where she shoots the other girl in the midsection. And Herg, we get to see a sense of compassion here where he tends to the girl's wounds. And Kurt's like, what's wrong with you? We still got some action to do. What are you doing, bruh? And Danny's like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. So Herg picks up the girl and he leaves the notebook behind. And that surprises the heck out of Kurt. So back in the lab, though, they get the notebook and it's all good. Daniel suffered a couple broken ribs and Kurt tells him, hey, you know what? I guess we were kind of bulletproof in that moment, but when they shoot up close, it's like a bulletproof vest. It's just going to come through. So Daniel asks Kurt, who was that woman? Nobody. And the doctor's like, who are you talking to? I beg your pardon, because remember, they cannot see Kurt. And Daniel knows that that woman is another one of Kurt's affairs. And Kurt gets pissed, like, you have no right to judge me. You have no idea what my life is like, no idea what I went through. And Daniel ain't trying to hear it. And Kurt tells him, do you know what it's like to sit across your wife, Amanda, having dinner with her and have absolutely nothing to say to her? I mean, I'm over here, she's eating a steak, she's asking how my day was, and she's telling me all about her day. And all I can think about is the day that I had where I had to pop a guy's eyeball out just for a simple freaking data card. And yet she's asking me how my steak was. Meanwhile, I'm still in shock from how close we were to losing the entire eastern coast of this country until I helped prevent that. I deal with a whole lot of shit where Amanda doesn't know and I can't share anything of my life with her. And Kurt continues venting on how the differences between him and Amanda are. And it's not her fault. She hasn't changed. She's still the same great woman she was when I married her. But my life has moved on and I've changed and I can't even tell her about the good parts. And Daniel still ain't trying to hear all that because remember, Daniel loves Amanda. That was Kurt's wife. And Kurt continues later on. Can you even try to imagine what that's like, Daniel? All I can do to keep my sanity is come crawling back to my asshole brother for some half-assed confession so that I can talk to someone about what I'm living through. Do you know how hard it was to see you each and every time, not being able to tell you that my marriage, my life was in ruins? Then I met Mirage. I didn't want to cheat, not again, but I'm weak in that way. I'll admit it, but I always loved Amanda. I want to treat her better, want to do that for her at least. But Mirage, the girl at the cell, was perfect for him. She knew more about Kurt than Amanda ever could. They related. He says they could have spent 6 months locked away together and never ran out of things to talk about. She wasn't like Beth or any of the other women. I loved Mirage with every fiber of my being. It felt like we'd always been together and it felt so natural and so right. And he continued to say, I was going to retire and run away with Mirage and leave Amanda behind. We had it all planned out. We were going to get Schillinger's notebook. She was going to arrange a buy. She'll tip me off. We get the bad guy's money and my people will make sure they didn't actually get any of Schillinger's notes. They were going to use that money and leave it all behind and retire, and he would leave Amanda in replacement of Mirage. So this is pretty heavy, and it gives a whole nother layer to Kurt and a whole nother layer to Daniel, and this is just wow. I mean, it's pretty heavy right there. So right here we see Director Rhodes reading the notes and she's just in a fit. And Director Stan's like, Dr. Rhodes, what are you talking about? And in that rage, because whatever's in that notebook is just a waste. All that trouble for what? So she blasts him. Beth comes in, sees the destruction, sees his head with the bullet hole in it, and she initiates a lockdown. There's a security breach. She repeats, lockdown now. An explosion happens, and she tells the guards, establish a perimeter and close off all the exits. We got a mole here. So Hunt goes up to her and makes sure that everything's okay. And she doesn't understand the situation. How can Director Rhodes do this? She had no idea that she was like this. She's met her mother. She's been to her house. They spent her birthday together. She was her friend. For her to turn on her own people like this, it doesn't make any sense. To think that she could have been working against us the entire time is unfathomable to Beth. This kind of thing doesn't happen. Sleeper agents embedded this deep, it's nearly impossible. Something is going on here, something big, and this is only the beginning. So in the next panel right here, as we get closer to the end of this issue, the end of this story arc, Kurt asks, do you have any idea why Beth would call you here? And Daniel's like, no. So when Beth gets there, she tells Daniel, look, after that explosion, we couldn't find anything on Rhodes where I'm responsible for cleaning up that mess in the agency. So she's a ghost. We can't find anything on her right now. Her home was stripped clean. It's like she never lived there. She was far too prepared for this. We're starting to believe she was a sleeper the whole time, and the agency is now connecting the dots on a number of cases she likely interfered with. This situation is staggering. So Daniel's like, well, what do you want from me then? What are you telling me all this? So Beth tells him, you're proving that you could be quite useful to us. I'd like to bring you in as a full-time agent, and there'll be, of course, a good deal of training. You need to complete that training, but I trust Kurt can help you along the way. And this is so weird. I take it that he's standing right next to you right now as I'm talking to you, and then he's like, yeah, he is. So here you go. Here's your identification card. Keep it. You got 2 weeks to get your life in order while HQ is being rebuilt. I'll need you to report in by then. So Daniel's like, wait a minute, you just gonna assume that I'm coming in? Are you a little bit curious that I might have just turned this away? But what makes you so sure that I would have accepted it? So Beth tells her, Daniel, we know all the intimate details of your life. You have nothing better to do. I'll see you in 2 weeks. As she walks away, he looks at his identification card and tells his brother Kurt, well, looks like this is my life now. And he looks up and he smirks, and I think he's gonna kind of relish it. And that is the shocking finale of Haunt. Issue number 5, the end of the first story arc. Yeah, I'm looking for more. I'm looking forward to more of the story. But what you guys think of the comic book and the end of the story arc? Comment below, let me know. And also, link in description if you wish to add this comic book to your comic book collection, and or some of our other comics or Rated Comics exclusives to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. Lastly, this review is sponsored by coffee. If you'd like to buy your boy a cup of coffee, link in description, or donate to the Super Thanks. But the greatest compliment you guys can do is by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. Thank you again for watching. Until next time.